attending today. Yeah, to echo much of David's sentiment, unfortunately, yes, this is a topic that I think clinicians, society, especially here in the US, that we find ourselves talking about more. And so this is, I think, becoming a necessary challenge for us to address. We're going to be talking, we have a bit of an ambitious kind of schedule here. There's a number of materials that I've made available to Safe Society, and my understanding is they're going to make them available to you guys. That should include the deck for today's presentation, a PDF on questions that parents, caregivers, invested adults can ask their local schools to help generate fruitful conversations around this topic. And then also tangentially related to a conversation, but I don't suspect we're gonna get much into it today, is about the phenomenon called swatting, which if you'll allow me, just for the purposes of ease, more colloquially, you could think about it, prank calls with a very tragic outcome. We've had a series of those episodes recently here in Colorado, and just trying to get the necessary information out to the key players, the key people operating the space. That would include the audience today. I just wanted to avail that. Also, I just want to echo what David said, and at any point, questions, comments, please use the chat function. I want to keep this dynamic. I want to make it applicable to y'all in your work. And so please, I very much enjoy a lively conversation, even if it's a critique and someone wants to point out and say, hey, doc, I think I heard something different. Please, it helps sharpen and refine my knowledge too. So quickly, I guess my CV, if you will, my credentials. So I'm a forensic psychologist here in Colorado, but I practiced abroad. Over the last couple of years, I've found myself increasingly getting involved in threat assessment work. And I think so often, you know, we attend some of these longer presentations and we aren't necessarily ready to just distill down what were the core lessons learned from the presentation. So I'll just give them to you right now. Here are the two most important things to take away from this presentation and about school and even workplace attacks. And this has been borne out of the research over the last 20 years or so. One is attackers don't just snap. So if we were to use some of the crude colloquial language about someone just going postal, that doesn't happen. Time and time again, when we do these kind of after action reports, we're doing these kind of, if you will, psychological autopsies, we see a very clear trajectory where people are moving towards dangerousness. The second key takeaway from today, and I think this really captures the sentiment or the importance of presenting to a broad clinical audience, is that many individuals prior to attack had knowledge or concerns beforehand. Again, this is the complementary piece. That first element about attackers not just simply snapping is that there were many individuals, and I'm not casting blame, but who kind of fall into what we call information silos, where one person has a piece of information, someone over here has another piece of the puzzle, and if they had only communicated, or if there was a network in place where that information could be shared, we might have been able to avoid some tragic consequences. And y'all, as mental health professionals, as clinicians, as those interacting with at-risk populations, are uniquely placed to be part of that layered security in terms of protecting communities, but also students, and even would-be attackers themselves. So over the years, I've become increasingly more involved in this because of the same skill set that I fastened as a clinician in and around violence risk assessment, mental health, extremist ideology. That same skill set is very applicable within this domain. It's a little bit different in terms of the perspective that we're taking. Lots of times when we're talking about risk of reoffending, we're based off something that had already happened in the past, and we have some data to extrapolate. However, when we're talking about threat assessment, some individuals, they may not have a history of violence yet. They may have just signified or maybe just sent out some kind of alerting or concerning text, message, email, some type of correspondence. And so we might be a little bit more future oriented. So I usually like to start with a scenario just to kind of help, you know, get us all orientated, to get us kind of set up in terms of what we're going to be addressing today, what we're going to be talking about. And so here is one scenario. A 14-year-old boy in outpatient treatment for inappropriate sexual behavior reports that he has been following Andrew Tate and really likes his vibe. The boy has a history of social isolation and peer difficulty, and a female classmate he likes recently declined his invitation to hang out. The boy's mother reports that he's been spending more time alone in his room and follows various subreddits about guns. Does this boy present a risk? So I'd like to take this opportunity for all of you to kind of put on your thinking caps, to kind of put on your threat assessment cap, if you will. Don't worry, if you have a good clinical cap, that's more than sufficient in this exercise. But maybe share your thoughts in the chat box, and then David can kind of further relay them to me, and we can go from there.